So we're going to do a question on working out what the prime factors are of a number. So this is taken from WJEC Intermediate paper for maths. It is from summer 2023 and it is unit 1. So that means there is no calculator allowed for this particular examination. Now, with questions like this, yes, there are calculations you have to do, but the numbers that you are given lend themselves towards, not being too difficult. So just highlighting a couple of things here now. So this is a 3-mark question. If you can find the prime factors for that number, you will get 2 marks. If you put them in index form, you get the 3rd mark. So let's just focus on, let's ignore the index form for now. Let's just think about what this means to express a number as a product of its prime factors. In fact, there's another word there as well. There's another word, product. So product means we multiply. So there's going to be some multiplication in there somewhere. So 675 prime factors. Prime factors are where we break down a number into lots of factors that multiply together, but those factors are prime numbers. So let's just think about what prime numbers are. They're numbers that only have 2 factors, and those 2 factors are different. So just as a quick reminder, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. Those are your first few prime numbers. 1 isn't a prime number. Do you know why? Put it in the comments, see if you can tell me. So what we're looking for is 675 is equal to something times something times something, whatever those numbers are, but they're made up of these numbers here. And the way we start that is simply by, and I say simply, when you know how it is simple, okay, is what 2 numbers multiply together to make 675. Now, I'm sure you may not know off the top of your head what they are. But one thing I'm just going to highlight for you here is it ends in a number which is a 5. Any number that ends in a 5 or a 0 has a 5 as a factor. So do yourself a little division, and you're going to work out how many 5s are there in 675. So we know it's 5, and there's going to be a times there. This is more just to help you to think about where these numbers come from. So 5 times what makes 675? So let's go do the division. So how many 5s are there in 6? There is 1. So how many groups of 5 can you get when you've got 6 items? 1 with the remainder 1. Because the way you explain these things can make a difference to people's understanding. So that's why I throw in lots of different explanations in what I'm doing. So then we're going to do, how many 5s are there in 17? Well, 5, 10, 15. So that's 3, remainder 2. And then we're doing, how many 5s are there in 25, which is 5. So 5 lots of 135 equals the number at the top, 675. So what we do then is we look at the 2 numbers and we say if either of them are a prime number, we circle them and we don't do any more with that number. So it's like we've ticked off one of the prime numbers that multiplies to make 675. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look at the other number and we're going to do exactly the same again. So we're going to say, what 2 numbers multiply together to make 135? Now, remember what I said in the previous one? If it ends in a 5, we know that 5 is a factor of that number. So let's divide that number by 5. So how many 5s in 1? None. Carry the 1 to the next digit. How many 5s in 13? 5, 10, not enough for 15. So we've got 2, remainder 3. How many 5s in 35? There are 7. So 27 lots of 5. And again, I'm just putting that times there just to give context. The process doesn't need you to do that, but it's more to just give you, just to remind you what, oops, sorry, wobbling a bit there, what we're doing. As before, we look at the two numbers we found. If either of them are a prime number, we circle and we stop. We then look at the numbers that aren't prime numbers, and we carry on. Okay, so any two numbers that multiply to make 27, 3 times 9. 3 is a prime number, stop. 9 isn't, so I'm going to carry on there. And 9 is 3 times 3, both prime numbers. Now, when we're doing this process of what two numbers multiply to give the number above it, we need numbers that aren't just 1 and that number above. So we can't just do 27 is 1 times 27, because we'll end up having to repeat the process again, okay? You could do different combinations of factors. Try it, see what happens, see what difference it makes to your answer. So 35, is there another set of numbers you could have done there? Just a thought. Okay, so we've done the prime factors. That's 1 mark. Written as a product of prime factors. So we take each of these numbers and multiply them together. And we just show them multiplied. We don't have to do the multiplication. So 675 expressed as a product of its prime factors is simply just taking these numbers here. And I'm showing you this step because I want to show you where you get your marks from. If you just did that, you'd get your 2 marks. To get your 3 marks, you need to put it in index form, which is where you've got powers, indices. So index, indices. So we can say that we've got 3 multiplied together 3 times. So 3 times 3 times 3. So it's 3 times multiplied to 3 times. Multiplied by, we've got 5 and we've got 2 of them multiplied together. And again, what I said before on my other video, if you are practicing something and it's not under exam condition, part of your revision, practice lots of past questions. But just to give you that confidence boost, yes, you can look at the mark scheme, but also, if you can't always access that, you just want to just multiply that out. So 3 to the power of 3 multiplied by 5 to the power of 2. And you get 675. So therefore, we've done exactly what it asked us to do. 3 marks, thank you very much. Now, on the same video, I'm actually going to do the next part, okay? Because it's linked to the same topic. So it says that 360 expressed as a product of its prime factors, i.e. what's been done before, is that. So we haven't got to work it out, already been done for us, thank you. What is the smallest whole number that can be multiplied to give a square number? So the smallest whole number that 360 can be multiplied by to give a square number. Well, what is a square number? It's something that is multiplied by itself. So, and again, this is only 1 mark question. So in the context of the exam, and you're like sitting there thinking, I've got no idea. Don't worry, come back to it at another time. However, because I'm doing this video, I want to give you tips on how to do things like this. So square number is where you've got a number multiplied by itself. Okay, so 9 is a square number because it's formed of a number squared. Think of another square number, 16. So 16 is some number squared. So 16 is the square number. To get it, we square another number. So to turn 360, so we've got to multiply, well, let's start again. let me just write this down. What the question's asking us is, what have we got to multiply this by to make it a square number? Well, to make it a square number, we need things to the power of 2 or 4 or 6. So any of these powers have got to be 2, 4, 6. Okay? Now, when we multiply powers, if I were to, for example, add in another 5 here, we're going to end up with 5 squared. Okay? I've already got something squared here, so I'm not going to do anything to that 3. But what I've got here is another number which isn't to a power of 2 or 4 or 6. But if I multiply the whole thing by 3, I end up with 2 to the power of, well, I've got 3 and I've got another one here. Sorry, 2. Oh, sorry. Hang on a minute. That's meant to be 2. My apologies. So 2 to the power of 3 times 2 is 2 to the power of 4. 3 to the power of 2, I haven't got any of the 3's there. 5 times 5 is 5 squared. I can actually write this now as 2 to the power of 2 times 3 times 5 times, and all I'm doing is rearranging these 2's and these 3's and 5's. 2 to the power of 2 times 3 times 5. Just a little note, when you're doing an exam, please don't write in this area, okay? I'm just doing it for the demo on here of explanation. So we've got this multiplied by itself to make that. So to make 360 into a number that is a square number, what did we have to multiply it by? 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. This kind of question looks a lot harder than it actually is. And again, it kind of pushes you into that strong grade B area, really, because you've got to think, well, what is a square number? And think about how that would come through when we've got things with powers. So all you've got to do is multiply it by some number that turns these powers into an even number. So 2 or 4 or 6. The 3 we didn't need to touch because it's already in it got a power of an even number. The 5, well, it's to the power of 1. So we need to multiply it by a 5 to give it a power of 2. The 2 to the power of 3, we need to multiply that by another 2 to give it a power of 4. So to do that, the thing that we needed to do, and it might just butch the ink here, is to multiply it by 5 and 2, which is 10. Interesting question, but not that inaccessible, but a little bit of a challenge to think in a different way. All right, you take care. Any questions? Pop them in the comments, and please keep an eye on my socials. You'll get a few more tips like this. Bye.